The following episode can be viewed on the YouTube channel Bernie or Bust Television.
Good morning, USA, and welcome to another episode of the Bernie or Bust Show. I'm the guy who's crying wolf, and I want you to know that there really is a wolf. Here is the imminent danger. Bernie needs a majority, not a plurality, heading into the Milwaukee convention. At the end of the show, I'm going to explain why we have to have Bernie or Bust up and ready. We have to deploy Bernie or Bust now at the beginning of the caucuses and primaries, and not later after we're pissed enough to finally say Bernie or Bust rides again. Bernie or Bust is absolutely essential right now. And so I'll be using this show to make the case why we can't afford to wait any longer. Also, at the end of this show, I will make a plea to Biden, Buttigieg, and Warren supporters that they must come over sooner and not later to unite behind Bernie. First is an article from Kathy Copeland Padden. Dear DNC, you must unite behind us to win. Isn't it cute how the Democratic Party brass and much of the rank and file demand we fall in line, especially when independent voters are close to outnumbering both major parties put together? A bit presumptuous, bordering on delusional, if you ask me. The establishment Dems simply won't accept that the majority of Americans aren't passengers on their sinking ship and don't owe them jack shit, much less a life jacket, i.e. our votes. This was their fatal mistake in 2016, and it looks like they're poised to repeat history. Don't believe me? Go check out DNC Chair Tom Perez's nominations for standing committees at the 2020 convention. It looks like a reunion of the Pantsuit Brigade. I mean, John Podesta? Who do they think they're shitting? The DNC is drowning in derp and going down for the third time. So neo-lib Dems, it's time to sink or swim, and swimming involves facing some uncomfortable facts. Whether establishment Democrats like it or not, you can't win this election without the support of independents who make up almost half of the electorate. This is not my opinion. It's simple mathematics, so don't get all pissy with me. You said you didn't need our support in 2016, yet inexplicably, vast battalions of thwarted Hillbots are still crying like little bitches because we didn't vote for the pantsuit succubus. You said you didn't care. You said you didn't need us. But here's the thing. Not all of us are big fat fucking lying ass liars. What part of no more corporate neo-lib Dems under any circumstances are you struggling with? Bernie Sanders is the only candidate on your ticket who can win the election. Another third-way shill guarantees an additional 4 years under Trump's demented regime. None of your donor-dicking darlings like Biden have a fraction of Bernie's base, so questioning his electability is a complete denial of reality. This is where the Dems need to decide which is more important, keeping your lips firmly attached to 1% ass or actually winning an election. Another happy thought from Stan Goff. Obama is coming. As the social democratic revolt, ever closer to open civil war within the Democratic Party, begins to blanket Iowa and New Hampshire, quite possibly Nevada too, and heading into South Carolina and the southern follow-on for Super Tuesday, the capitalist class is in both attack mode and a panic. In my own experience with tactical matters, I'll remind you here that Stan is retired military, this is an ideal combination for serial blunders. We've already seen them recently in the coordinated attack from Warren and CNN, followed by the mega blunder of Hillary Clinton's intervention. Both pumped up Sanders' support and fundraising. It's a scary thing when your attacks all begin to backfire. It generally means one of two things. Your attacks are based on bad intelligence, or you've badly underestimated your foe. These two are both operant now as the shrinking center leaves its leadership with an ever smaller actual popular base. Since 2016 now, we've seen them try to cobble together a new center comprised of low-information elderly voters whose window on reality is network news and an ideological merger between anti-Trump neoconservative Bush II refugees and the Wall Street servants of the Democratic Party leadership. They've been ineffective against Trump for the same reason they have thus far been ineffective in stopping the socialist/social democratic rebellion. They are living in an alternative universe of their own making, a bubble where everyone reassures everyone else that they are right. The essence of bad intelligence. And for the same reason they underestimated Trump, they are underestimating the Sandinistas. Both actually have mobilized popular bases that far, far outnumber those in the bubble. In recent days, as Sanders continues to rise in the polls, former President Barack Obama has hinted that he may weigh in. And he is definitely the heavy artillery of the center right now because his popularity among African American voters, as well as petit bourgeois centrist white Democrats, remains quite firm. Given that South Carolina's Democratic base is majority black voters, 55%, and that the bases of all the black belt states with likewise substantial numbers of African Americans in the Democratic Party, an anti-endorsement by Obama could have an impact, though I'd be shocked if he endorsed Joe Biden. He reportedly never liked Biden very much, and his pick of Biden was a political calculation based on the same now faulty predicate that centrists cling to today, that there is this smooth continuum between center-left and far-right, equally distributed, and winners have to capture a chunk of the center-right. Biden is a racist, deeply corrupt, a masher, and a water boy for Wall Street, and he has been all his life. This is treacherous political terrain for anyone on the left, especially white folks, because, as I outlined in an earlier post, Obama is more than the man and more than the former president. From that post, surely we remain aware of the ways we who opposed Clinton in 2016 and critically supported Obama in 2008 and 2012 had to call out Obama and Clinton on their dreadful policies on the one hand, while defending them against attacks that were explicitly sexist and racist on the other. It's a delicate dance for anyone, especially white folks, to criticize Obama. Obama as paragon and Obama as symbol are not going away. Because while it should not be a totalizing idea, it's still important. And I will say this to the chagrin of some, but white people have no standing to judge on this account. Nonetheless, this has to be understood and further elaborated as part of a shared and yet unshared political reality. What is shared is a ruling class, money dependency, and the state. What is not shared, or partially shared, is a great deal of lived experience. Even in our multiracial family, the white folks have a different experience of the world outside our homes. Where white folk can open up broadsides against Warren's actions and Biden's execrable record, white people do not have the standing to go after Obama with the ruthlessness we may employ in going after a Biden. Because in addition to Obama as symbol and Obama as paragon, President Obama was subjected to a great deal of plain racism from the right. The same applies to men criticizing women candidates. The gendered insults are totally, absolutely off limits. A good deal of the heavy lifting is being done in African America by the black left, who at least have some immunity against the charge of being yet another white person dumping on Obama. The warning here doesn't mean to give Obama a pass. That's not only kind of racially problematic, it plays into a ruling class calculation that weaponizes identity, symbols, and paragons to silence the left. But it does mean white activists entering into the conversation with some humility and respect. Obama is more than his sins to a lot of people. Please look over the linked piece here, which attempts to unpack the historical complexities of race and elections as they relate to Barack Obama. Share if you like. Meanwhile, do not panic. Obama is going to Obama, but the Sandinista base keeps expanding, even and especially among non-white voters. One of Joe Biden's South Carolina supporters, and not a flaming leftist either, Dolly Myers, just switched from Biden to Sanders based not on ideology, but that intangible that motivates tactically defensive voters, electability in the face of a Trump onslaught. The Obama battering ram might be coming. There's an army of millions out here ready to brace the gate. Let them come. Let him come. Because what Warren and Biden discovered is that while the campaign itself has a cautious approach to the opposition, this movement will hit back and hit back hard. That's our job. We're those rangers out behind the lines who specialize in skirmishing, and we're pretty good at it. Don't screw it up. This is a skirmish that has special circumstances. Our opponent is beloved of many of our allies and potential allies. Hit hard on the facts, but always acknowledge honestly that you don't have the same skin in the game as others. And that, dear listeners, brings us to our PSYOPs conclusion. Bernie or bust is a necessity. This article that I wrote earlier has a post-script. Bernie needs a majority, not a plurality, heading into Milwaukee. And that's where the urgency comes in for this particular show. If you're going to share any of the episodes of the Bernie or Bust show, this is the episode you should share. We need to get the word out right now to Biden supporters, Warren supporters, and Buttigieg supporters that they just can't wait any longer to unite behind Bernie. Here's another wrinkle. We need Klobuchar voters to understand that they can't have anyone but Bernie either.
You do not hit 15% in that precinct, Nyambi, then you're kind of disbanded and you get to go wherever you want. Right. So second choice becomes very important. And according to some of the polling that we have just yesterday, Amy Klobuchar is at 9% in Iowa. It's very conceivable that 9% of people, if she has an alliance with Biden, that might be enough to put him over the top. What do you think about this?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing about these sort of successive rounds of voting and realignment really create a process where a person who may not be the first choice can actually win. So it could be for the second and third placers to be able to kind of work together to rig the outcome. And I don't want to say rig.
No, it's totally.
Here's the deal. Even if you've been following the latest DNC shenanigans, over the last few days especially, how they intend to use Perez-appointed party insiders on DNC committees to deny Bernie the nomination, you may not realize, I didn't, that Bernie needs a majority, not a plurality, heading into the Milwaukee convention in July. If he has a plurality, say 45% to Biden's 35% and Warren's 20%, then the superdelegates take over in the second round and Trump wins again. That's the message that simply must get out now. If we wait until everyone gets pissed enough to jump on the Bernie or bust train again, it will be too late. If we again allow the party elites, superdelegates, to control the outcome, Trump will be reelected by the swing voters again. Look at yesterday's show with the swing states, and we have an analysis that shows that all of those states are very likely to go blue for Bernie and red for everyone else. Even though it may be difficult to accept that they actually think this way, the party bosses know that 4 more years of Donald Trump is infinitely preferable to the existential threat of a Sanders presidency. Just ask John Cowan of Third Way. Because Bernie is much more likely than Trump to cause their oligarchic gravy train to run off the tracks. So wake up, boomers! It's time now to jump on the Bernie or bust train. If you are going to jump, and you're going to have to if you really don't want Trump, now is the time. When pollsters call you, tell them it's too late. We've got to have Bernie. There's no other choice. Otherwise, this is the kind of explaining you're going to have to do after it's all over. You're going to have to tell everyone you know that you knew all along that only Bernie could beat Trump. You knew that the swing voters would give it to Trump again, and you still voted for a corporate oligarchic sock puppet.
Get on board the Bernie or bust train. Come get on board the Bernie or bust train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Go get on board the Bernie or bust train.
The preceding episode can be viewed on the YouTube channel Bernie or Bust Television.